Alright guys, today we're going to try something different. I've seen these around YouTube and I really enjoy watching them. It's going to be a tier list, or we're going to do these franchises right here, which I'll name in a minute. And I will just do the originals in this video, and then we'll do the sequels, and then the third sequel of the franchise, and so on and so on. Video idea credits go to Cody Leach. I love watching his tier lists, so that's where I got the idea from. I figured this will be fun to do. I just picked movie franchises that I like and I'm familiar with, am familiar with enough to rank them. And I will have to do some homework on some of these franchises, which I'll name. So these are the franchises that we're going to be doing. I got Jaws, Evil Dead. Jaws, I've seen every single one. Evil Dead, I have seen every single one, I think. I haven't watched like the TV series, but I've seen all the movies. Hellraiser, I've only seen the first one, so this one that we're ranking here today. I have not seen the sequels at all, so I will have to do my homework on that for these videos. Scream, I've seen every one. Child's Play, I've seen all of them. Halloween, I've obviously seen all of them. That's my favorite franchise of all time. Friday the 13th, I've seen all of them. That's my second favorite franchise of all time. I've actually done a ranking of these movies, so that can be found on my channel. Nightmare on Elm Street, I've seen the majority of them, but I haven't seen all of them. I still need to watch 4 and Freddy's Dead and New Nightmare, and then I probably should rewatch the remake because I'm not super familiar with it. It's been a while. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I have not seen the third one or Generation. I think it's called New Generation. I haven't seen those two, but I've seen all the rest of them. Insidious, I've seen all of them except the new one, The Red Door. I don't know why I haven't got around to watching it yet. It's on Netflix, so I'll definitely watch that. The Conjuring, I've seen, I think, almost the entire universe of The Conjuring, so very familiar with most of these, and these are how we're going to be ranking them. I just got very basic tiers. Horror Classic for my best of the best movies. Very good for movies that I think are very good. They're just not quite horror classics, in my opinion. Enjoyable is going to be average, middle of the road. Not necessarily bad, but not necessarily really good. It's just enjoyable movies that I can watch and have an okay time with. One and done are movies that I think are bad and I watched once and decide I'll probably never watch it again, so one and done. And then horrible, just like this joke here. Movies that I think are absolute trash, absolutely horrible. Okay, we'll just get right into it. I've never done this before. I'm not going to put them in the slots in order of how good or bad they are. I'm just going to put them in the tiers, so because these are all franchises that I will probably make rankings of in the future on my channel, so I don't want to go ahead and rank them now. Okay, first we got Jaws, the original Jaws, and this one obviously is going to go straight up to horror classic. This is one of the greatest movies of all time. Even if you're not a horror fan, I think you probably love this movie. Steven Spielberg's classic. Just the behind the scenes of this movie, the whole story of this movie, just everything about it is completely classic and amazing. So definitely straight up to horror classic. I don't know if I can say that about the sequels, but we'll get to those. Evil Dead. I enjoy this franchise enough, and I can have a good time with them. And I'm going to put it in very good just because it doesn't hit me as a horror classic. I do love this first movie. There's a sequel that I do like more. I don't know why. It's very good. Obviously, I have it in very good, but it just doesn't hit me as a horror classic, as in it's a little bit dry for me. It doesn't have as much rewatchability for me, but I still think it's a very good movie, even if I just watch it like once a year. So it's going to go right there. Next up is the franchise that I'm least familiar with in this whole tier ranking, and that is Hellraiser. I watched this first movie about a half a year ago. It was not what I was expecting it to be. I am going to put it in enjoyable. I don't think this franchise is going to be for me at all. I know my brother watched the whole franchise and he actually really enjoys it, so I don't know. This first movie was really weird. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be. It's got a lot of mind games in it. You really have to pay attention to the movie to understand it. And I'm not saying it was bad, but it's just not my type of movie. I don't think it's not what I come for in a horror movie. But hopefully the sequels will be better. Um, but like I said, it's not necessarily bad, but I didn't necessarily really like it. So it was an okay, fun movie. The third act was pretty good, so I'll put it in enjoyable. Next up, we got Scream. This is one of my favorite franchises. I'm going to put it straight up to horror classic for this first movie. We're not talking about the franchise, obviously. I know I keep saying franchise, but I am talking about specifically the movies. But this first Scream definitely up into horror classic. It revived horror as far as it died in like the late 80s, and Scream definitely brought horror back in a way that nobody ever thought it could come back. Obviously, I wasn't there, but I know from research and from hearing about it when it came out. And I love this first Scream movie. I think it's perfect. I think, although the sequels are pretty good too, I don't think there really is a bad Scream movie. They definitely perfected it in this first one. They perfected it the first try, just like most franchises do. I love Wes Craven as a director, and I want to watch more of his movies, and I think he was just pure genius in this. Nothing more else to say about Scream. It changed horror for the better and brought it back so that we still have it today. Next up, we got Child's Play. I enjoy this franchise, but it's not one of my favorites. I'm going to put this movie, though, specifically, this original, I'm going to put it in very good. I know most people would put it right up to horror classic. I think there's a certain sequel that we'll get to that I will put in horror classic. But this first one, I love it. It's very good to me. I think it is a little dry. For if you like Chucky, you want to see him hyped up, you want to hear the one-liners, and although it does have some of that in this first one, they definitely didn't perfect it yet. And from the response of the audience, they knew what they needed to do for the sequels, and I think they perfected it later on. But this is still a very good movie. It is a classic as far as horror movie goes, horror movies. It is a very good movie. I've rewatched it a couple times. I still enjoy it every time I watch it. I'm not going to dread watching it or anything like that. It's a very good movie. So I think it belongs right there in very good. Next up, we got my favorite franchise of all time, and obviously Halloween is going to go straight up there to horror classic. This first movie was perfected by John Carpenter. Laurie Strode couldn't have been played any better than Jamie Lee Curtis. Just everything about this movie is perfect. I mean, I can't really sit here and talk about Halloween. Obviously, there's millions and millions of videos and reviews of Halloween, and one day I will do mine, but it's just a perfect movie in my opinion. I think it's my favorite movie of all time, favorite franchise of all time. John Carpenter is my favorite director of all time. It's just everything about this movie it's just made for me, even though I was born in early 2000s, and this is a 78 movie. Just a perfect movie in my opinion. The vibes that it gives me, I mean, I could watch this on Christmas Day and it would instantly put me in Halloween vibes. It doesn't matter when I watch it, and I can get into Halloween vibes, although I don't usually watch it in the winter just because I like to have the vibes right outside. But definitely a horror classic, perfect movie in my opinion. I know most people's like, oh, everybody says it's perfect, it's not perfect. Well, oh well, it's perfect to me, so that's it. Next up, we got another one of my favorite franchises of all time, Friday the 13th, which I did a ranking of, obviously, as I already said. This first movie, as you know, in my ranking, if you watched it, it is very high in my ranking. So, obviously, I'm going to put this in horror classic. Most people don't like this first one as much as I do, but I love it. I love this movie. It changed horror forever as far as gore effects. As much as Halloween boosted the horror slasher genre, Halloween opened the door and Friday the 13th just blew it off its hinges as far as making it popular. Halloween's obviously a better movie in my opinion, but Friday the 13th just really rejuvenated Halloween slashers. Not really rejuvenated, but helped invent it along with Halloween and Black Christmas and stuff like that. But very good. I love how it's shot. I think it's a beautiful movie. Most people don't like it, like I said, but I don't know why. It's just everything about it. I love the vibes of the camp. It's perfect summer setting. I love the whodunit aspect, even though I'm aware it's not done very good. I love the whodunit aspect. I like the campers as much as other people hate them. I think they're boring and bland. I don't know, something about that makes me like them. So Kevin Bacon, obviously, his first movie. I love him in this. So I think it's a horror classic in my opinion. I love it. Next up, we got another one of my favorite movies of all time, Nightmare on Elm Street. This goes straight up to horror classic, obviously. A decade before Scream, Wes Craven proved that he is the master of horror, along with John Carpenter. This is almost a perfect movie. If it didn't have that last, I don't know, 3 minutes, it would be a perfect movie. But it still belongs in horror classic, obviously. I've seen most of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and this is my favorite one. And I don't think it will change. As much as I do love some of the sequels, I think this will always be my favorite one. The vibes of this movie is awesome. I love the story. I love how Freddy is portrayed in this first one. I really don't think they perfected it ever again. Some people say that Dream Warriors is the best Freddy, which I can't argue. It is a really good Freddy. But I still think I like this original Freddy better. Obviously, it's played by the same actor, but the portrayal itself, it changes over time, and I think I still like this one better than the ones I've seen so far. And I've heard they get really dicey, so I'm looking forward to see this. I have my girlfriend got me this DVD set of all the movies, so that's what I'll be watching for the ones that I haven't seen yet. So next up, we got one of my favorite movies of all time, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, going right up to horror classics. There's going to be a lot of horror classics in this originals, because obviously the OGs are classic. But I love this first movie. It is another one of the few perfect movies we have, in my opinion. It's a perfect horror movie. I love how it's shot. I love the grittiness, the dirtiness. You feel like you need to take a shower every time you watch it. It doesn't show a lot of blood, but it still feels disgusting. It just has that effect. Like, it's just the way it's shot, the way the vibes are in it, the grittiness of it. It just makes you feel like you've seen something super disgusting when you really didn't see much at all. But it is a perfect movie in my opinion. I love this movie to death. So it's going straight up to horror classic. Next up, we have Insidious. This is kind of a new franchise for me. I just recently actually bought the 4-pack Blu-ray of the first 4 Insidiouses before Red Door came out, because I planned on going to see it in theaters. It didn't end up happening. But I have seen the first 4. I just need to watch Red Door on Netflix real quick. As far as this first movie goes, I did think it was really good. But possession movies / ghost movies aren't necessarily my favorite. I do like a lot of them, but it's not my favorite. I'm going to put this first Insidious in enjoyable. I do understand why most people think this is a classic, and it is really good. I did enjoy it, but it's just not my type of movie specifically. I do love Patrick Wilson. He's one of my favorite actors, so that I think that's why I chose to watch this franchise. And he does great in this movie, and he does great in the sequels as well. And I can't wait to watch Red Door to see how he does in that one. But he is one of my favorite actors. So that is really all it has that I really, really enjoy. Other than that, I think it's a pretty decent story. I like the characters. I like the idea that they have. It's very original. But I'm going to stick it in enjoyable for now. Next up, The Conjuring. I am going to put this in horror classic, which might surprise some people, but probably won't surprise a lot. I think as far as paranormal and the new paranormal movies that you see today, I think The Conjuring really set the tone for those and perfected it. It's never been perfected since. They've actually fell off quite a bit, and now they're absolutely trash, but The Conjuring definitely perfected it. I think James Wan's vision for this movie is the only reason it worked. His way of shooting and his way of storytelling, it really just works in this movie. And some of the sequels, it has some of that magic in it, but never really perfected again after this one. This is really the only one this is the only Conjuring universe, which we'll get to the rest of them, that I rewatch quite often, at least every October. For a genre that is definitely not my favorite, I do love this movie. Like, it's the only one that I've seen so far that I truly love. And I am glad to own it and rewatch it whenever I want to. Okay, so this is my tier ranking for these horror originals. The next tier ranking will be sequels, and that's when it'll start to get pretty dicey. We'll probably have our first one and dones and horribles and the sequels, and definitely the threequels, or whatever you want to call them. But I really enjoyed this. I thought it was fun, and I hope you guys enjoy it. We'll continue to do it until we run out of movies. When it gets down to the last few movies in the franchise, obviously more franchises are going to run out of movies before some. So we'll figure out what we're going to do about that when we get there. But next one is sequels, and we'll go from there. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.